Hey everybody, it's Brad Kilgore here with America's Best Shops, hanging out with my good friend Laura. How are you today, Laura?
Doing great, enjoying the warmer weather.
Awesome. Yep, we have some warm weather today. I think we might get a little colder by Friday, so we'll see. So, whenever we do our episodes, we always try to bring as much value as possible. And as we know, running a business, dealing with the craziness of what's happening in AI and how that ties together is it's almost like a complete overwhelm for most people, for myself included. Some days I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a new version, there's a new feature, there's this new stuff. So we try to keep it practical. We try to show you and explain things um, in a good way so you can understand them and see what might work for you in your business. You don't have to necessarily jump in the deep end when it comes to implementing and doing different things with AI. So we're going to focus on some things today that are very much tied into the Google ecosphere, I guess I would call it. And so we're going to talk a little bit about AI mode and what that means to you and your business. And then we're going to dig a little bit into the changes and updates in Google Gemini, which ties into Google NotebookLM. So does that sound like some cool stuff, Laura?
Yes, it does. Very exciting. And I will add in a little bit. I had opportunity to meet with one of the chief officers of Google this week, and he was giving us some insight as well. So definitely exciting times ahead for the Google AI, Notebook LM, and all of those assets.
I was like, you got some inside scoop.
Maybe just a little.
Just a little. All right. Well, the first thing that I'm going to open up the screen on is Google AI mode. So I think sometimes seeing is easier to understand than if I just talk it. So let's see if I can share the right screen here. Okay. Make sure we got the right window. I think we do. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So the one we're going to start with is called AI mode, right? So in normal searches, um, we're used to something like this, right? Now I have dark mode,
Yes.
so that may, don't be thrown off by that. You know, most people have light mode. I like the dark screen, but typically we are now talking, you know, or typing what we need, right? I actually have a bunch of new features in my car, which is kind of a side note, where I can talk to Google now when I'm driving. So I have Android Auto on my screen. It's crazy. So
Yes.
anyway, so normally when we do this, we're searching here. The first thing we see are either ads or, in this case, the Google Maps. This is paid ads right here, right? But now, if you were to go to if you just go to Google .com and get rid of all this stuff. Oops, if you just go to google.com, we've shared this before, you have this new little shiny object right here called
My
AI. So when you
favorite
go there,
button.
what's up?
Said it's my favorite button.
I
That
know,
and
right?
Ask Gemini. Those are my 2.
That's right. So now I'm going to be talking to my AI mode. So what I did is I did the same thing here. So what the AI mode did when I searched it is it brought up something like this, right? I did the exact same search. What's a good motorcycle repair shop, right? Some of this we've seen in the last few weeks. This is tied to Google Maps. This is giving me some information over here. It's telling me almost a summary up here. But this part right here is new. Don't worry about this. This is so we'll just get rid of that. Oops. So anyway, now I can talk to my AI mode and say, okay, um, you know, it's telling us more information here, specialized, and it's telling us it may make mistakes. But it's saying, are you looking for routine maintenance like oil change, or do you need help with a more complex engine or electrical issue? This is all new stuff. Like it knows what I searched for, and now I could talk to it. I'll say, how about something like, uh,
And I know that you're typing, but of course there's that microphone. You're typing so that it's consistent and quick while we are here on this video, but any of our listeners or viewers can also use that microphone and just talk to it like you were saying.
yeah, I I use this sometimes. I also have another tool called Whisperflow. that I rarely even type that much anymore. That's why I type so bad now. But anyway, I went deeper on what I'm looking for. I need an oil change in the south part of Colorado Springs. So let's just see what it does. Right? It already knows what I was searching for, hopefully, right? With oil change. Okay, so these are still motorcycle shops, right? So it's telling me these two are good prime options in the southern part of the city, right? So it's even telling me average costs, service times, links to these guys' websites. Here's an alternative. These guys will come to you. So I'm having a conversation. This is essentially Gemini built into Google AI mode, right? So this is a drastic difference. And I think this is where we're going to see it go is how much it's going to change. Right.
And before you switch screens, the other thing too is there's a difference now between mentions in AI and being cited. So when you're able to click through and go over to the website that's being cited, or you can be mentioned as it is here for the different ones. So um, obviously, as small business owners want to have more traffic, they have to realize that it may not be click through traffic. And I know you've went through that before on previous episodes, but it is changing. And that's the reason why what we're putting online digital footprint wise, blogs become so important because they may be mentioned and therefore have a link citing back. Even if they don't click through, what they're seeing right now, this a moment of time, there's at least 20% of bots that are going out to the websites, gathering that information, pulling it in, and being shared in this kind of format. So that's the reason why small business owners need to be aware of the importance of keeping their websites or the digital footprints fresh and up to date with information.
That's exactly right. I'm so glad you brought that up because it ties into the parts over here where you want to have a very fluid website with all of your service pages, but also your blog, new information, specials, frequently asked questions. But over here, it's telling us these are the sites it's pulling this from. This is a Facebook post, right? It's talking about an oil change discount. This is a website with a schedule. It's saying you could schedule. This one's Yelp. But if I go here, there's more Yelp, a lot of Yelp. Uh, how much is a motorcycle oil change, right? This is an FAQ on their website,
Hmm.
right? So all of these things are coming into place. So if you're watching this, you're like, okay, well, I could see these new changes. I like them, but how do I get to show up? Okay, well, it all makes sense. Well, first of all, these guys have good reviews, right? They're all in the 4.4 and above with a large amount of reviews, right? This guy doesn't. Why is he there? Maybe it's because he's got more going on Yelp. Um, so there's just a lot of signals of how these things would work. So I'm going to switch real quick. Up share. Okay, I'm going to share one last thing about what's some changes in Google. And this one's a different screen because what I was looking at before, I was logged into my business account, but I would like to share my personal. Okay, let's do it a different way. Okay, so bear with me 1 second, but it's amazing how many of these things are changing so rapidly. So I'm gonna share. Sharing is caring. Laura told me. Okay, so
I think it's such valuable information that you're sharing because again, it's changing fast, and I think that the newest window would have been overlooked. That people don't realize that it is a new addition that can be extremely helpful as a small business owner, as a consumer, as a user. So they need to be aware of it.
that's exactly right. So what I'm showing now is Gemini, who there's lots of ways you can get to Gemini, but in this case, went to gemini.google.com. One of mine and Laura's favorites is to pull down the little Gemini uh, button up top. Does that show on my screen at all?
It is.
Okay. So you can go to it that way. But I want to show you now when you're in just Gemini. Now I'm in a pro account, personal account. This is different than my Google Workspace account. I'm sure it'll be there soon. But now your notebooks, if you've created notebooks in NotebookLM, are now over here in Gemini. So it's tied together. So you can organize your notebooks. We already knew that when you're chatting here with Gemini, you could bring in a notebook, but it's all becoming one. The Notebook LM is now living inside Gemini. There's so many different use cases of how you could do this because if you recall, when you're looking at notebooks, this is kind of the front end of what Notebook LM looks like. What these really are is they're just individual notebook areas where you put as many sources as you want about whatever subject you want, and then create all kinds of cool stuff over here, which we reviewed before, but you're then talking here. This is Gemini built in, right? So again, all you have to remember is Notebook LM is a way to organize your thoughts. I can make a new one about fitness. I can make a new one about my trip to Kauai, whatever it is. I then would add sources. I can then communicate with it. But I think the big piece of it is now Gemini, which was already kind of baked into Notebook LM, is now Notebook and Gemini are becoming one. And the automation pieces and all the other things that go along with this are only expanding more and more. So hopefully that's helpful. Does that make a lot of sense to you?
It does. And that was a great way to demonstrate how Notebook LM is integrated and how you can use Notebook LM through with so many different ways. So many different ways. I know that in previous episodes, you've gone into more deep depth about the buttons, about the podcast, creating visuals, whether it be infographics, flashcards, whatever might be needed. But again, as a small business owner, if you're thinking, I need to train an employee, if you're building that notebook and then again, like you said, using it, pulling in different outside assets to really add depth to those notebooks, you can use that for employee training. There's so many things that you can use to organize your notes and make things useful versus just having what we feel like a drawer full of a lot of information. Google Drive made it very easy for us to collect items. Now, what you just showed allows users to organize items.
It's
Great
crazy
information.
too. Yeah, I agree. We won't touch on it today, but within Notebook LM, like Laura said, it's almost like these little mini brains about certain subjects, right? It could be all of your SOPs and all the different things you have in your company. It could be specifically for your mechanics in the back. It could be for your front office people. So you could have different notebooks for different parts of your business, and then you could create so much from there, or just talk to your source. Your source is all the different things you put in there. So it's an exciting time. I think next time or soon we will dig even deeper because you can not only create infographics and podcasts and slide decks and all the different things that Laura mentioned. Now you could already create videos, but now you can start creating cinematic videos in this thing. I mean, who knew, right?
It's tremendous. It's tremendous and exciting, like you mentioned. I, I hope your listeners and viewers jump in and try it out.
It's all part of Google. It doesn't, I mean, there's some limits if you've got a free account, but it literally is free. So, with that, I think we'll wrap for the week. By all means, share this information with others you think could use it. Subscribe, tell your grandma about us. And like always, tune in next time for another episode of America's Best Shops.